Audiobook Spring. Listen to relaxing novel. Thank you for following and not crossing advertisements. Female doctor and journeys through time. Time to become a princess. Chapter 1. The Widow Princess 1. Princess, why are you thinking so short? Prince of Wan the Chancellor divorced him. You can go and ask His Majesty for justice. After all, Your Majesty will not let you feel inferior and inferior. Why are you doing this? On the big bed, there is a beautiful open work pattern. Lian Xin lay silent. The whispering sound in her ear annoyed her. Her brows lightly furrowed together, and perhaps because she hadn't drank in a long time, her voice sounded hoarse. Be quiet, will you allow me to lie down and rest? The voice, although somewhat hoarse, but still melodious, like the sound of running water, shocked. Lian Xin immediately sat up on the bed. Her voice. How is it possible that her vocal cords were poisoned? I've become dumb here. In this life, there is no way to cover it up and talk about it anymore. And why? She was able to change her voice. Lian Xin rolled over his aching temples. While Mrs. Yang was unable to regaining consciousness. At the bedside, he saw a young girl standing in a good mood. Heart, this little girl had a beautiful face. His white skin was flawless, and the edges of his eyes were overflowing with tears that he hadn't wiped away. Both eyes were bright and full. Overflowing with joy, he stared at Lian Xin, who had opened his eyes without blinking. Princess, you're awake? Huh, princess. Lian Xin's eyebrows nodded. Wait. If I'm not mistaken, she should be in this sick rehabilitation center. How could she be here when she woke up? Who are you? After a moment of silence, Lian Xin asked. With a hoarse voice, stunned little girl, she looked at Lian Xin with a shocked look. I forgot that I was crying. His beautiful face turned pale, his eyes full of shock. Here, you. Just as Lian Xin was about to interrogate. Nobody knows the little girl, who then turns around and hurriedly runs out the door. Lian Xin reached out, hoping to grab her. Fingers running through the shirt, the wind blowing, that little girl disappeared in the blink of an eye. The sensation of sharp pain in the temples returned again. Lian Xin spread out his fingers, gently rubbing his temples. And in that fraction of a second, a loud bang, a series of memories from the depths of the brain streaked in a string, as if his head was about to explode. At that moment, Lian Xin was slightly shocked. When she should be in a rehabilitating facility, but when waking up she was back in the Kongyue continent instead of Huasha. She also became the eldest daughter of the Emperor Liu Yan, and was also a widow who was abandoned by her husband. Yes, even though this body was a noble princess. But back to being a woman, a recently divorced widow. The reason is not much, because this princess was loved and indulgence from the emperor from time immemorial. Fearing nothing, thinking about doing anything ever since meeting Liu Yukan, the young master of the manor chancellor, who excels in the field of competition knowledge and martial arts, until it became love at first sight. Several months ago she made a vow that she would never marry anyone but him. The emperor indulged this daughter the most. As if grabbing the stars and the moon can come down and they will bring them. Everything the daughter wants, yes or no, therefore hastened to have a royal command down, let Liu Yukan marry, princess, but Liu Yukan voluntarily Titan Shuang's Huanggan love. The eldest daughter of the Taifu noble family one was already there, because the emperor had a royal decree, causing this couple to be separated. When Liu Yukan was forced to marry a princess with the reputation of that vaunt, how can one feel willing? He had never come back to his home, never even met Lian Xin's face once. Let alone coexistence side by side. Pello. Originally like this, there was no problem with each other, but with the princess being too reckless, not only did she hit Tan Shuang's wand, she also made Minister Haiyan so angry that he fainted. Liu Yukan, feeling so angry that she didn't care that she was the emperor's daughter, he immediately drafted a divorce letter to divorce the princess. Chapter 2. The Widow Princess 2. The princess who gave Liu Yukan her whole heart couldn't accept the shame of being divorced. So he hurriedly hit his head against the wall and ended his life there. Lian Xin, what a fool. Lin Xin contemplated the scene in his memory. She withdrew. Take a deep breath. When he does not love you, why do you have to separate your lovers from each other? What Lin Xin hated the most was those who abuse their power. Separate lovers, but who knows that one day she will become a person like this yourself. As for this princess, I don't know if it's a coincidence that her name was Lin Xin as well. It's good that you don't have to change your name to be complicated and chaotic. It was just that he didn't know what Lin Xin's body was at Huisha. Since the spirit was in the Kongyue continent, that means the Lin Xin who was in Huisha must have died. I don't know, brother, can you accept this story? His eyes looked a little gloomy. Lin Xin pursed her lips and did not say anything. Speech, in Huisha, younger brother was Lin Xin's only relative. At that time, after she was poisoned by her mother-in-law until she became mute, the younger brother had taken her out of that house without any care and worked hard to earn money to give her a comfortable life. After the younger brother succeeded, but her health was deteriorating day by day, all she could do was send her to a rehabilitating facility. Who would know that in the end, she wouldn't be able to endure it anymore? Many years ago I have lived a miserable life. The heavens can't bear to watch any longer. Give me new life, I just don't know. What exactly does this princess look like? People say people who have lived assholes have more hope than people who have died. It's better to break through than to become a wandering soul. Luckily, there was a copper mirror in the room. Tushi reached out and picked it up. But when he saw the shadow of the man in the mirror, Feng Ruqing was shocked, his hands trembling. The mirror fell onto her body. Who could tell her who the fat man's shadow was in the mirror? Beautiful body before, where has she gone? Lin Xin wanted to cry but couldn't. She finally understood. Why would Liu Yukan despise this princess like this? Fong's reputation plus, he's still fat. Like a castrated pig, her only advantage was that her white skin seemed to emit light. Unfortunately, even though the whiteness will overcome many disadvantages, but obesity destroys everything. Shaped like this, no matter how white she is, she can't overcome the ugly. Kinger. In the meantime, Lin Xin's brain was thinking of a way. Lose weight there outside the door, a sound of joy sounded. She turned around and saw a man in a yellow dragon robe. Stepping on foot quickly, the man was dignified, his face sharp, his eyebrows long and dark, and his eyes as gentle as water. Like sunshine, a warm glow instantly flashed into Lin Xin's heart. Kinger, you're all right. It's really good that you're all right. If something really happened to you, I will have a face to meet your mother who left this world. How then? The dragon-robed man tightly gripped Lin Xin's hand. His voice trembled. Lin Xin turned his head and looked at the dragon-eyed man without blinking. This man was Feng Dianyu, the emperor who gave birth to this body. If there is no princess, this man was regarded as a wise king, but he loved and indulged the princess until there were no boundaries, no distinction between right and wrong. Your Highness, I have already told you. That Kinger must not be. A pleasant, gentle voice floated from the side. When hearing this sound, Lin Xin then noticed a woman who was by Feng Tianyu's side. The woman wore a light purple sheer satin skirt, her hair pinched with a jade hairpin. Her appearance looked elegant. A smiling face said, "Ching, next time don't act impulsively like this again." Mother 3 knew that you had recovered and ordered someone to cook the pork leg you liked. Let him be brought in again. One Taifu was one of the 3 nobles of the Kong level, a lord. Junior lady, acting as a teacher of the Air King. A copper mirror is a device for looking at faces in ancient times. It is circular in shape, made of copper, with a smooth side used for reflecting on faces. The other side is a pattern, equivalent to a current mirror. 3 mother here is translated from the word the emperor's concubine called instead himself when talking to his sons and daughters, including those of the emperor or other concubines. Chapter 3, The Widow Princess 3. Feng Dianyu furrowed his brows dissatisfied. Wrong, Fiona. King just woke up. Must cut back on the food. I ordered the cooking room to boil rice porridge. Your Highness. Liu Rong had a flustered expression. She was afraid that Feng Tianyu was furious and hurriedly knelt down. Your Highness, please don't get angry, but Kinger can't live without meat. If there is no taste of meat at all, she will be upset now she has just recovered. If anger is firewood, how will your health be? Even then, the person who was sad wasn't His Highness. With mere pay, Feng Yushan looked at Lin Xin with an embarrassed expression. Kinger, listen to father. When you recover, what do you want to eat? Give you everything. Can you take good care of your body now, child? Lin Xin slowly closed his eyes. Silent, do not speak. In the eyes of others, this was Lin Xin's dissatisfaction with Feng Dianyu's actions. Therefore, he pretended to be angry and refused to speak. But in fact, just now she thought about Rongji Yuifei. From memories come up, the original owner's mother was the current emperor's emperor, but had to leave this world because the princess was difficult to give birth to. That is given to her will be lacking, because the owner of the body did not receive the love of the mother. The emperor indulged her, unable to accept the nanny's strict training, until he was killed without. The daughter of Rongai Fai saved him without thinking for his life. I'm afraid that by this time, Mrs. Kong already in the hereafter. Of course, Rongji Yuifei was originally only a mistress because her daughter had saved the princess. The princess is close to Mrs. Aki. Both Rongji Yuifei spoke to the smart people to please the princess until she called. Rongji Yuifei said that His Highness then used the princess as a ladder to climb up Ji Yuifei position. Then he used various sweet words to appease the princess until he got a sign. The iron blood that her mother had left behind was her own, and the iron blood badge represented the army that the princess mother had trained with great difficulty. Just hearing his name made him tremble with fear. Therefore, many people objected to the princess raising the sign. This decree is given to Rong Kuifei. Even the emperor had forbidden her, but she stood on one leg, causing the nobles to be loyal to followed up serving Nolan royal house in the past. Ploy was disappointed along the way. Your Highness, look, King is angry. In Lyurong's beautiful eyes, there was a feeling of pity. Workshop. Father, Lin Xin refused to let Liu Rong continue. She interrupted and looked up. At that moment, her eyes looked like a starry sky in the night, the stars twinkling, so beautiful that the sky and the ground can't even compare. In addition to white skin, Lin Xin also had another outstanding point, derived from Nolan Hong, how it was these dazzling eyes. Unfortunately, Lin Xin when he was young, the body was not that big and giant like this. At that time, she was small. White skin looked soft like a grandson when he was young. It was as though he had reproduced it. Therefore, Feng Dianyu, who loved the emperor's grandson with all his heart, passed on this love and cherishment to Lin Xin. But even if Lin Xin now only had eyes to see like a grandson, but the love and cherish that Feng Tianyu's influence on her did not diminish at all. I want to drink water. I want to eat porridge. Her voice was hoarse, but it sounded strangely resolute. That moment the entire room became quiet. Everyone looked at Lin Xin with strange eyes. Kinger, what did you just say? Completely confused, even his voice visibly trembled. Just now, Kinger said, would she like to eat porridge? Father, now I only want to eat porridge. Chapter 4 The Widow Princess 4. Okay? Feng Dianyu was delighted. Not paying attention to what Liu Rong interrupted for a moment, he hurriedly ordered out, somebody, hurry up and tell the machine room. Make some porridge for Kinger as well. Liu Rong's expression softened a bit, her hand clenched a handkerchief tightly. Your Highness, what about the pork knuckle that my mom prepared for me? Kinger, Rongji Yuifei. Feng Dianyu's beautiful face became expressionless. The voice was very dissatisfied. You didn't hear Qing say? Now she only wants to eat porridge. What exactly do you want? In Lyurong's heart, she felt even more confused. She felt that since Lin Xin had woken up, she had seemed to have changed into a different person. The same lady, if the emperor ordered to abstain from food, she was going to cry and yell, but this time she obeyed the emperor. Your Highness, don't be angry. I just pity her only. Wrong Gaifai, you're about to cross the line, Feng Dianyixi said. Expressionless face speaking as fast and furious as a sword. Recently, you don't have to come. Look at Kinger. Originally, Rongji Yuifei was already an embarrassed emperor, if not Kinger, protecting her. She would never have appeared in front of the monk. Face for sure, Your Highness. Liu Rong lifted up a beautiful face. That small, frightened and helpless face was so mesmerizing. Even though she was already over 30, but her face was still as beautiful as before. Her face still looked beautiful even after reaching middle age. But how to do when this face didn't make Feng Dianyu even a little shaken? He continued to comfort Linsin. Without caring, Kinger, you just woke up. When he was afraid that Rong Jiuifei would let you eat those things again. So during this time father will not let her come to you again. Is that good or not? Immediately, Liu Rong's frantic gaze changed. The target came to Linsin. She bit her lip tightly, her eyes showing concern. Among Liu Rong's anxious eyes, Fengru Kinjim come out suddenly. Her voice was hoarse. Only one word came out of her throat, good. Linsin in the past was very stupid. For this Rong Jiuifei she had disappointed many people. Even the relatives on the Na side Lan Wanghao had been destroyed by her, feeling devastated. Linsin now will allow Rong Jiuifei to play until how can you continue spinning? Her father did not allow Rong Jiuifei to visit her at the same place. She wants fit because she herself didn't want people to disturb her every day. Your Highness. At that moment, one of the guards walked in. The door came in a hurry. Sit on one knee in a respectful manner. What's the matter? Feng Dianyu glanced over with flat eyes. I just asked. Tell your Highness, young Master Liu and young Nistan are kneeling at the writing room has been around for an hour already. Huh? Feng Dianyu let out a cold sound. Give them 2 people keep kneeling. Kneel until Kinger forgives them. If not for these 2, Kinger wouldn't have almost left him like this. He hadn't ordered his execution in the first place, considering that it was for the sake of the minister and Taifu's face. Now let them kneel. Go until Kinger can forgive him, and that's all. Fortunately, Kinger had recovered now. Otherwise, even if they knelt until the heavens were broken, the emperor would never let them go. Father? Linsin was stunned, then asked, did Liu Chen and Tan Shuang's Huan come? Kinger, Liu Yukan has been too arbitrary with you. Even if I have to kneel for days and nights, it's because he finds out on his own. You don't have to pity. Feng Dianyu's eyebrows lightened. He was afraid that Linsin would be soft-hearted. Therefore speak persuasively with a soft voice. Kinger was the daughter he loved the most, so he gave Kinger to Liu Yukan. But look what Liu Yukan did. What with her not only let her guard the house alone and forced the emperor's beloved daughter to die in a cold manner. One Jiuifei is the emperor's chief concubine. Chapter 5. 2 cute little children with flawless white skin. 1. Father, it was a mistake then. My own I shouldn't have dared to marry Liu Yukan at all. It wouldn't be strange for him to hate me. It is considered that he has paid for it. From now on, he and I have nothing to do with anything. The person in my heart doesn't have her. She didn't need to mourn. Besides, she was no longer the same Linsin. This Liu Yukan, she no longer felt hatred and dislike. Feng Dianyu looked at Linsin dazedly. Then sighed, my Kinger. Become an adult now. The priest's mansion family had always been loyal to the Liu Yun country, but for this beloved daughter, he compelled Luke. The chancellor's men asked Stronger to be his wife. If Kinger could get rid of him, that would be good, but if Kinger's heart still had him, even if he has to do, let Liu Yukan be crippled with a broken leg, would let Liu Yukan stay with Kinger throughout life. Father, when I passed out I met His Highness too. Linsin closed his eyes, lightly pursed his lips. The wise king, you will definitely become a tyrant because of me. Hearing those words, the others didn't feel anything, only Liu Rong's expression went blank. These years, Feng Ruqing grew up beside Liu Rong, but she said that no one had taught her such logic. Isn't it like letting others know that she didn't teach Linsin well? Kinger, you've seen Yanner, haven't you? Linsin's things held tightly. Linsin raised his head. He looked at Feng Dianyu with a smile. Although this face is not beautiful, but her smile looks like the sun, infinitely bright. Father, this isn't Liu Yukan's fault, it's because I don't know. We'll be able to marry him. My mom is impatient. Plump, unsightly Liu Yukan was not pleased. It's not strange therefore, Father, don't be angry with your family. Stir this with this matter. In fact, Liu Yukan didn't do much wrong. He was just forced to marry a famous woman, Von Fen. One with will. In addition, it was because of the previous Linsin who had it was the first to hit Tan Shuang's Huang. It also made Huyen the Chancellor must be angry until he faints as for Liu Yukin, the filial son asked for divorce. Only because of anger. If it weren't for the strong and powerful woman before, now the palace minister would have been able to live peacefully as before. Nonsense. Feng Tianyu slightly frowned. Disgruntled tone, my daughter, it was one of the Liuyun provinces. You don't look down on yourself too much, even if you're fatter than the average person. But she's fat and looks good. There's no one more beautiful than my daughter. Lin Xin was shocked. She couldn't help but twitch the corners of her mouth. Daughters are always beautiful and kind. If Feng Tianyu's words were heard in the ears of the citizens, they did not know how they would be ridiculed. Your Highness, it's already too late. Soon it will have to be a government job. It's morning. Liu Rong slowly got up and walked beside Feng Tianyu slowly. Her voice was as gentle as water. Feng Tianyu's expression showed a slight annoyance. His cold gaze passed Liu Rong's face, and then looked at Lin Xin again. Kinger, it's too late. Wait until the father says the morning work is finished. Then come and visit the new child. Father, I'm fine. Don't worry about it, please. No, you're my father's daughter. Father must come to live your friend often. Feng Tianyu got up from the bed. He had a formidable, stern look. Soldier, princess is sick lately. Without my orders, no one would ever disturb her. As he spoke, he turned his head to look at Liu Rong. Chapter 6. Two cute little children with flawless white skin too. The word who said that, of course, including Rong Jiui Fei. Liu Rong felt ashamed. She took one deep breath, smiled wryly, and said, Your Highness, Kinger hasn't recovered yet, needs someone to take care of it, so take care of her, let the maids come and see. You don't have to come, besides, now it's too late. You should go now, don't disturb Chonger's rest. Feng Tianyu laughed coldly. Liu Rong was embarrassed. The hand at his side was clenched so that no one could see it. Bow to accept the command. When Feng Tianyu walked out, the others also followed. Alone, a moment passed, she lowered her eyes. Look at the chubby wrists, the corners of the mouth that smile a little. Mixed with sadness, I never thought that my life could be restored again, but unfortunately in this life, I probably won't have the chance to see my brother again. Her? While Lin Xin was staring at her wrist suddenly appeared a faint red thread in. This red thread was not very clear. It appeared in her eyes astonishingly. This eyes. Lin Xin's eyes slowly opened. Widened. Suddenly, a red light flashed throughout the room. In that second, it seemed that some force pulled him. She got up and led her out of the palace where she was staying. The red light faded. Lin Xin, who was originally lying on the bed, disappeared. No one knows when. As for the royal palace, it was calm and peaceful. It was as if no one knew what had happened in the palace. Blue sky, floating white clouds, loud sound of jingle that sounded faintly next to Feng Erqing. Deaf, her ears were so damaged that her head almost exploded. Our medicinal slaves have arrived, Hahu. Don't be afraid in the future. There are no more medicines. How many years has it been? Haher, I almost forgot the taste of the medicine. Luckily, the people we left here were still useful. Finally caught the slave grow some medicine for us. Hurry up and wake her up and plant medicine for us to eat. I'm starving and thin. I'm afraid to become pile of bones first. That sound lasted a long time. It was like the sound of mosquitoes and flies flying around. It was so noisy that Lin Xin frowned, then slowly opened his eyes. That moment the sunlight that shines down from the sky was so bright that Lin Xin couldn't even open his eyes. She hurriedly used her hands to cover her eyes. Wait until you can adjust your eyes to that light, then slowly put your hands down. But, seeing one two little boys who didn't know what time had appeared, Lin Xin was stunned for a moment, before instinctively asking, Who are you? In front of him were two children, a boy and a girl. White skin is flawless, looks cute, big eyes look sparkling, like the stars in the night sky. But these two little boys who were seen as pure and innocent when thinking of words of them a moment ago, Lin Xin felt cold all over his body. Don't be trembling. What child was that? Obviously, it was two old demons. Who does not know how long he has been alive? We are members of the pharmacy that party. Unfortunately, in the past, when the apothecary sect had an unexpected incident, Ching Han and I were imprisoned here. We haven't taken a magic pill for a very long time. You are the person that we have diligently captured to use as a cultivator. Lian Xin's eyes were dark. She searched the memories in brain for a while, find that this Pope princess doesn't know anything about stories on the continent, so I couldn't find any stories about pharmacy that party. But if it's magic, Lian Xin knew this very well. On the continent, magic pills were a type of pills that were extremely valuable. Some magic potions not only heal the sick, but also increases power to the ascetiswo, and to a continent that values warfare like this, magic pills have always been precious and rare. 1. The red thread is a symbol of crossing dimensions to the party. Pharmacythip in another dimension. 2. Asceticism is an ascetic practice in order to lighten the desires or suppressing desires. Chapter 7. 2 cute little children with flawless skin. 3. Lian Xin forced himself to stay calm and looked at the 2 children. Then you have found the wrong person. I can't grow medicines. Besides, what I know, I have to combine heaven and earth divine energy to get a magic medicine. That's because they don't know the truth, the boy protested. Arrogantly said, the divine power of heaven and earth is self-made. And you are the people that we take as slaves to plant medicines. Of course we have to teach you the method. Lian Xin's gaze rolled back and forth. The corner of Mrs. Lei's mouth seen as a smile, she asked with a smile on her face. Then why are you choose me to be a slave to plant medicine? Can it be anyone else? The boy hesitated for a moment. Finally answered honestly, where you are right now. Formerly used to be pharmacy that party. After an unexpected incident happened with pharmacy that party, the party leader moved the party. Go somewhere else, put it in another world. But not anyone has the right to be our slaves, can plant medicines here. Lian Xin's eyes lit up. So, how many slaves have you been looking for in these years? Only you. We've waited almost 1,000 years to get one of you. I understand. Lian Xin lifted the corners of his mouth. She scooped up the boy and then used one hand slapped his butt. The boy was stunned. He felt a sharp pain in his butt. Asked for reasons with tears running down his face. What did you do? The girl named Ching Han was also stunned. She dashed towards Feng Ru. She quickly held Lian Xin's hand tightly, his white and smooth face turned red all over. Bad man, release brother fucking. Otherwise, I will bite you. Lian Xin raised his eyebrows. She ignored the girl, looking at the fucking she held from head to toe in a thug manner. Just now, you called who said slaves collect drugs? Owner, Fu Chen ought to speak. But when I saw the twinkle in my eyes, Lian Xin hurriedly swallowed the words back down his throat. No, not you. This woman looks so frightening. Shocking everyone. Human beings are so ferocious. Good. Lian Xin let fucking down. She brushed her hand and said with a smile, you'll let me plant a magic pill for you. Then I will be a parent who take care of you. With parents, where do you have to talk? Call mother for me to listen. Fucking almost choked. His parents and Ching Han were only this heaven and earth. There was a human mother. Since when was it added? But when he thought of Lian Xin's ferocity, he could only hold back his anger, not as arrogant as before. Shout out forcibly, mother. If it weren't for the fact that he hadn't taken a magic pill for so many years, he was so hungry that he had no strength. By now he must have hit back. This disgusting human woman. Let's hit his ass first. Repeatedly forced to call mom. It's too bullying. Come on, if I plant a magic potion for you, then I will get… What? Fucking looked at Lian Xin cautiously. No matter when, a magic pill is also an invaluable thing. Besides, Ching Han and I now have very little strength. We can't eat a lot of magic pills. When we are full, the rest of the magical pill you can use for other things. Seeing that Lian Xin's expression became displeased, Fu Ken's tone immediately became frantic. For example, if you take a lot of magic pills, your power will increase a lot and also reduce the fat. Make it look slim and become more active. I have a healthy cookbook that the sect leader gave me. Apothecary has left if a magic pill was used as a nourishing food, it would not only make your body better, but also helps your practice of penance. It's easier to accomplish too. Originally, this kind of thing, he would definitely not take it out. Think just give this human was only a cultivator's slave. But this human was so ferocious, if he hadn't given enough in return, she wouldn't have given them food. Episode 8 Withdraw the Divorce Letter 1. Fengru King Yui's Keep Your Mouth Shut. Fukin saw that Linsin was speechless. I feel that my heart is thumping. Xinghan and I also did. What more, but we haven't eaten anything for years. No strength, waiting for our stamina to return to normal. We will be your strong underlings. Then how are you guys going to recover? Qinghan and I have special bodies. Just have a magic pill as food. Give me enough according to my condition now. 3rd level magic potion. That's enough. Fu Chen held up 3 fingers in a cautious manner. The eyes that look at Feng Ruqing lace with fear. 3rd level magic pill. Why didn't you go and steal it? Linsin was displeased. In this continent, the first 2 grade magic pills were already hard to find. The 3rd level magical pill was even more expensive, even if she took out all of her savings. At most, he could only buy magic pills, the first 2 levels, let alone this bloke. Who said he had to use them? 3rd level magic potion? Don't steal, you're slave. The word slave hadn't finished speaking yet. Fukin had already seen Linsin's ferocious gaze. Shocked until Tong swallowed the words back down his throat. You're a parent, take care of us. There must be a way to bring out our ink-free magic pill for us. It's just that your strength right now is very low. I think, at most it can be planted. Just a level 1 magic pill. The magic pill needed to combine fat and divine power. But it depends on the power of that person as well. Then how am I supposed to get out of this place? Linsin complained. Mumbled for a moment. She had already left the palace where she had been sitting for quite some time. If she hadn't returned yet, she was afraid someone would find out. We will send you back. Next, if you want to come here again, just give us a call. Okay, then you try to get me out of here. The voice had just died. Linsin felt like a ray of sunshine. A warm glow enveloped her body. Then, a bright light made her unable to open her eyes. She opened her eyes again and found herself back there. The palace that has already been stamped. Linsin glanced down. Her fingers lightly stroked her wrist. At that time, the red thread on the wrist was gone. As if it had never appeared before, the door of the palace was opened. The maid of honor has a beautiful face. One holding a cup of porridge walked from outside into the palace. She saw Linsin leaning against the head of the bed and felt relieved. This is porridge that His Highness ordered to arrange for the princess. The servant will help give the princess a favor. Maid in front. It was the first person Linsin encountered. After resurrection, only this little girl was startled by her, so she hurriedly ran away without even looking back. Right now, I haven't eaten porridge. Put it aside, I have something to see with father. Qingling's heart fell to the bottom. Hurriedly walked over to support him. Linsin, princess is not well yet. You should get plenty of rest. You'll be able to reconsider your account with Tan Shuang's Huang later in the day. It's not too late. These years, Qingling has helped Linsin make up quite a few things. Ruqing tried to stand up. The first thing Qingling thought was that Princess will to attack Tan Shuang again. That's right, that Tan Shuang almost caused the princess death. How could the princess let her go? Why would I go to Tan Shuang's Huang? I have some business to discuss with His Majesty. Father, you don't have to follow me. Linsin frowned. She got up from the bed. His hand grabbed his shirt and covered himself. Qingling looked at Linsin in confusion. I don't know if he thought it himself or not since the princess came back. He looked very cold with her. Episode 9 Withdraw the Divorce Letter 2. But Linsin didn't care what Qingling thought at all. She only thought of addressing the problem of Princess Mansion. Because how staying in the royal palace like this, doing nothing in the future is inconvenient. If there is a princess of his own, would be very relieved. That far away Linsin saw a man and a woman kneeling at the in front of the writing room. The woman was wearing a green shirt and satin skirt. His face was as pale as a boiled chicken. He sat on his knees in the wind, and his body looked so thin and pitiful. I man rested in Hanwan, his back straightened, his eyes hiding his anger. but did not dare to show it. His face was as sweet as jade, but drenched in sweat. At that moment, an eunuch walked over and stopped beside Liu Yuchen. He flicked his whip back and forth, then said in a high-pitched voice, "Sir Liu, Miss Dan, your highness can let them go back." Liu Yuchen stiffened. He was silent for a moment, then asked, "Did his highness say how to punish the Liu family?" "Young Master Liu, can't you just go back and wait for the news? But you should be glad that the princess has recovered. Otherwise, your highness would have no choice. The Liu clan will definitely leave." The eunuch laughed mercilessly and said sarcastically, "Who in Liuyun County didn't know Princess Lin Xin? As the apple of His Majesty's eye, but Liu Yuchen dared to tell her to divorce her. Isn't this the same as plucking tiger's teeth? Really looking for death?" Liu Yuchen's face turned pale. He clenched his fist tightly. A moment passed, though he loosened his hand and turned around to look. Tan Shuang's Huang, whose condition could no longer endure. His eyes were full. With a feeling of pity, "Shuanger, let's go back." "Can?" Tan Shuang's Huang smiled sweetly. But because she had been kneeling for a long time, her legs were completely numb. As soon as he got up, he fell into his arms. Of Liu Yuchen? Liu Yuchen, seeing his beloved woman undergo such torture, became even more angry. Gritting his teeth, he said, "Shuanger, it was my wife to divorce me. Forcing her to die is my fault. It has nothing to do with you. Next time, you won't have to follow me again." After all, Lin Xin was a ruthless woman. Perhaps she would bully Tan Shuang's Huang again. The moment Liu Yuchen turned around, a gentle face changed into emotionless. He stood in front of him and protected Tan Shuang's Huang. Instinctively, the angry gaze looked directly at the person in front of him. Tan Shuang's Huang followed his gaze. Seeing Lin Xin in the sun, she was so shocked that she hurriedly pulled Liu Yuchen's sleeve. Compared to Tan Shuang's Huang, who was slim, Feng's body routine was comparable to Tan Shuang's Huang, 3 people combined. Plump face and round, causing a look of disdain in Liu Yuchen's eyes. "Princess, when I divorced you, it was because you hurt Shuanger first, and also made my mother so angry that she fainted. If you're angry, then come down with me. It has nothing to do with Shuanger. She has suffered enough. Don't bully her again." Lin Xin's gaze passed before stopping at Tan Shuang's Huang's small, pale face. On that day, the old Lin Xin hurt Tan Shuang's Huang because she loved Liu Yuchen so much. Lin Xin was annoyed to see Tan Shuang's Huang daily in the ministerial mansion, but Liu Yuchen never slept in the same room with her for a night. There were maids secretly gossiping. It was said that Tan Shuang would soon marry into the courthouse, perhaps forcing me out of the house. She was furious and rushed over to slap, hitting Tan Shuang's Huang. Again, she said in front of everyone that next, the Liu family is prohibited. Absolute mistress if there was. He would beat his mistress to the floor, and even quarrel with Liu Haiyan too, who had come to forbid it. This made Liu Haiyan furious. Fainting? Chapter 10. Withdraw the divorce letter. 3. In fact, even if Tan Shuang's Huang dressed up to the Liu family, there was no way to force her out of the manor. Maids in the steward's quarters dared to criticize the princess, so those maids, is there any intention? Still have to wait for further proof. Yuchen? Tan Shuang's Huang retreated in fear, biting her lips lightly. In her beautiful eyes, there was a hint of fear. "You shall not quarrel with the princess ever again. It's me who shouldn't be there at the residence of the stewards every day because of this." This angered the princess. "Her beating me 10 times is what I deserve." Seeing Tan Shuang's Huang's frightened expression and thinking of the lash marks on her body, Liu Yuchen's heart felt like someone take your hand and crush it. Extremely painful. "Princess, I agree that I should not divorce you if you don't hurt Tan Shuang's Huang. Hadn't made my mother so mad that she lost her consciousness, I wouldn't." This anger, so no matter how big the mistake, it's only my fault. Shuanger has nothing to do with it. What he did wrong the most was not to reject His Majesty's command. Broke in from the beginning, you shouldn't marry this fearless princess. As for the matter that Shuanger had to suffer, Lin Xin lightly touched his chin with his fingers. Eyes covered with a smile. "If you think that she has been in trouble, you are a man. You go and make up for her yourself." To be honest, Lin Xin was starting to look down on this Liu Yuchen. If Liu Yukan really loved Tan Shuang's Huang, not to mention that he left Tan Shuang's Huang and married her. But now he's even more should have brought Tan Shuang's Huang to ask for sympathy. If he was a man, should bear all the guilt, but alone shouldn't have brought a beloved woman to suffer with. Liu Yukan was stunned. Most likely, he didn't quite understand what Lin Xin said. Then, he clenched his teeth and continued. Princess, please let Shuang go. Don't bring thanks to the people in the Lord's quarters. Just be willing to ignore them. Liu Yukan, I will withdraw the divorce letter. This sentence, Liu Yukan seemed to put a lot of effort into it. Speak with an embarrassed expression on your face. But now that he had lost his way, he really just wanted to save the people in the Lord's quarters. He's willing to live together with this woman again. The hand that was on Shuang's Huang's side clenched tightly, his nails digging into his flesh. His face hurt so badly that he couldn't see it. She tried to get Liu Yukan to divorce Lin Xin until she was able to allow her to come back into the ministerial mansion again. Another time, unfortunately, Lin Xin shook his head. Someone else's man. I don't feel the slightest bit interested. Liu Yukan was shocked. He looked at Lin Xin, his eyes wide open. Princess, what do you mean? Lin Xin rolled his eyes. I mean, I don't love you. I would never love a person who doesn't have potions and doesn't have a sense of responsibility like you. Moreover, he is a man with an untruthful heart. This man, on one hand gave Tan Shuang's Huang deep love, on the other hand said that Lin Xin was his wife. Such an untruthful heart, only Tan Shuang likes it. Originally, Lin Xin couldn't. Feeling disgusted with Liu Yukan, but now she doesn't want to see his face anymore. Liu Yukan's handsome face turned red, his fists clenched tightly. Princess, you can judge me whatever you want. But you have no right come and criticize my feelings towards Tan Shuang. When I marry, sir, I used to say I can take you as my wife. But the person I love the most, it is always Tan Shuang. Lin Xin's gaze was unhappy. The old princess was such a fool. A man who only had other people in his heart. What does it mean to marry? Damn it, the eunuch yelled angrily. Originally he thought Liu Yukan intended to apologize to the princess. Originally, he must have intended that, indeed, but did not expect that Liu Yukan would be so exaggerated. Therefore hurriedly accused him of leaving. One Han people dress, it's the clothing of the Han period. In this era, fabrics that look weaving with satin fabric which is very beautiful. To Huyen is a wife for use to refer to a married woman. 1.
Desire to listen to good novel? Don't forget to subscribe.